was over. Since they were visitors, they would have to share living space with those who lived there, and would be given the best accommodations. That was the law of hospitality. Then he asked that everyone, including his own sentinels, hand over their arms to the men appointed by the tribal chieftains. Those are the rules of war, Peter explained. The oasis may not shelter armies or troops. To the boy's surprise, the Englishman took out a chrome-plated revolver from his bag and gave it to the men who were collecting the arms. "Why the revolver?" he asked. "It helped me to trust in people," the Englishman answered. Meanwhile, the boy thought about his treasure. The closer he got to the realization of his dream, the more difficult things became. It seemed as if what the old king had called beginner's luck were no longer functioning. In his pursuit of the dream, he was being constantly subjected to tests of his perseverance and his courage. So he could not be hasty nor impatient. If he pushed forward impulsively, he would fail to see the signs and the omens left by God along his path. God placed them along my path. He had surprised himself with that thought. Until then, he had considered the omens to be things of this world, like eating or sleeping, or like seeking love or finding a job. He had never thought of them in terms of a language used by God to indicate what he should do. "Don't be impatient," he repeated to himself. "It's like the camel driver said, eat when it's time to eat and move along when it's time to move along." That first day, everybody slept from exhaustion, including the Englishman. The boy was assigned a place far from his friend, in a tent with 5 other young men of about his age. They were people of the desert, and clamoured to hear his stories about the great cities. The boy told them about his life as a shepherd, and was about to tell them of his experiences at the crystal shop when the Englishman came into the tent. "I've been looking for you all morning," he said, as he led the boy outside. "I need you to help me find out where the alchemist lives." First they tried to find him on their own. An alchemist would probably live in a manner that was different from the rest of the people at the oasis, and it was more likely that in his tent an oven would be continuously burning. They searched everywhere, and found that the oasis was much larger than they could have imagined. There were hundreds of tents. "We've wasted almost an entire day," said the Englishman, sitting down with the boy near one of the wells. "Maybe we'd better ask someone," the boy suggested. The Englishman didn't want to tell others about his reason for being at the oasis, and he couldn't make up his mind. But finally he agreed that the boy, who spoke better Arabic than he, should do so. The boy approached a woman who had come to the well to fill a goatskin with water. "Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm trying to find out where the alchemist lives here in the oasis." The woman said that she'd never heard of such a person, and she hurried away. But before she fled, she advised the boy that he had better not trying to converse with the women who were dressed in black, because they were married women. He should respect tradition. The Englishman was disappointed. It seemed he had made a long journey for nothing. The boy was also saddened. His friend was in pursuit of his personal legend, and when someone was in such a pursuit, the entire universe made an effort to help him succeed. That was what the old king had said. He couldn't have been wrong. "I have never heard of an alchemist before," the boy said. "Maybe no one here has either." The Englishman's eyes lit up. "That's it! Maybe no one here knows what an alchemist is. Find out who it is that cures people's illnesses." Several women dressed in black came to the well for water, but the boy would speak to none of them, despite the Englishman's insistence. Then a man approached. "Do you know someone here who cures people's illness?" the boy asked. "Allah cures our illnesses," said the man, clearly frightened of the strangers. "You're looking for witch doctors." He spoke some verses from the Koran and he moved on. Another man appeared. He was older and was carrying a small bucket, and the boy repeated his question. "Why do you want to find that sort of person?" the Arab asked. "Because my friend here has travelled for many months in order to meet with him," the boy said. "If such a man is here at the oasis, he must be a very powerful one," said the old man, after thinking for a few moments. "Not even the tribal chieftains are able to see him when they want to, only when he consents." "Wait for the end of the war, then leave with the caravan. Don't try to enter the life of the oasis," he said, and walked away. But the Englishman was exultant. They were on the right track. Finally, a young woman approached who was not dressed in black. She had a vessel on her shoulder, and her head was covered with a veil, but her face was uncovered. The boy approached her to ask about the alchemist. At that moment it seemed to him that time stood still, and the soul of the world surged with him. When he looked into her dark eyes, he saw that her lips were poised between a laugh and silence. He learned the most important part of the language that all the world spoke, the language that everyone on earth was capable of understanding in their heart. It was love. Something older than humanity, more ancient than the desert, something that exerted the same force whenever two pairs of eyes met, as had theirs here at the well. She smiled, and that was certainly an omen. The omen that he had been awaiting, without even knowing he was, for all his life. The omen he had sought to find with his sheep and in his books, in the crystals and in the silence of the desert. It was the pure language of the world. It required no explanation, just as the universe needs none as it travels through endless time. What the boy felt at that moment was that he was in the presence of the only woman in life, and that, with no need for words, she recognized the same thing. He was more certain of it than anything in the world. He had been told by his parents and grandparents that he must fall in love and really know a person before becoming committed. But maybe people who fell in love that way never learned the universal language. Because when you know that language, it's easy to understand that someone in the world awaits you, whether it's in the middle of the desert or in some great city. And when two such people encounter each other and their eyes meet, the past and the future become unimportant. There is only that moment, and the incredible certainty that everything under the sun has been written by one hand. It is the hand that evokes love and creates a twin soul for every person in the world. Without such love, one's dreams would have no meaning. Maktub, thought the boy. The Englishman shook the boy. "Come on," he said, "ask her." The boy stepped closer to the girl, and when she smiled, he did the same. "What's your name?" he asked. "Fatima," the girl said, averting her eyes. "That's what some women in my country are called." "It's the name of the Prophet's daughter," Fatima said. The invaders carried the name everywhere. The beautiful girl spoke of the invaders with pride. The Englishman prodded him, and the boy asked her about the man who could cure people's illnesses. "That's the man who knows all the secrets of the world," she said. "He communicates with the genies of the desert." The genies were the spirits of good and evil, and the girl pointed to the south, indicating that it was there that a strange man lived. Then she filled her vessel with water and left. The Englishman vanished too, gone to find the alchemist, and the boy sat there by the well for a long time, remembering that one day in Tarifa that the Levanter had brought to him the perfume of that woman, and realizing that he had loved her even before he knew she existed. He knew that his love for her would enable him to discover every treasure in the world. The next day, the boy returned to the well, hoping to see the girl. To his surprise, the Englishman was there, looking out into the desert. "I waited all afternoon and evening," he said. "He appeared with the first star of evening. I told him what I was seeking, and he asked me if I had ever transformed lead into gold. I told him that was what I had come here to learn. He told me I should try to do so. That's all he said. Go and try." The boy didn't say anything. The poor Englishman had travelled all this way only to be told that he should repeat what he had already done so many times. "So then try," he said to the Englishman. "That's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to start now." As the Englishman left, Fatima arrived and filled her vessel with water. "I came to tell you just one thing," the boy said. "I want you to be my wife. I love you." The girl dropped the container and the water spilled. "I'm going to wait here for you every day. I have crossed the desert in search of a treasure that is somewhere near the pyramids, and for me, the war seemed a curse, but now it's a blessing because it has brought me to you." "The war is going to end some day," the girl said. The boy looked round him at the date palms. He reminded himself that he had been a shepherd and that he could be a shepherd again. Fatima was more important than his treasure. "The tribesmen are always in search of treasure," the girl said, as if she had guessed what he was thinking. "And the women of the desert are proud of their tribesmen." She refilled her vessel and left. The boy went to the well every day to meet with Fatima. He told her about his life as a shepherd, about the king, and about the crystal shop. They became friends, and except for the 15 minutes he spent with her, each day seemed that it would never pass. When he had been at the oasis for almost a month, the leader of the caravan called a meeting of all the people travelling with him. "We don't know when the war will end, so we can't continue our journey," he said. "The battles may last for a long time, perhaps even years. There are powerful forces on both sides, and the war is important to both armies. It's not a battle of good against evil. It's a war between forces that are fighting for the balance of power, and when that type of battle begins, it lasts longer than others because Allah is on both sides." The people went back to where they were living, and the boy went to meet with Fatima that afternoon. He told her about the morning's meetings. "The day after we met," Fatima said, "you told me that you loved me. Then you taught me something of the universal language and of the soul of the world. Because of that, I have become part of you." The boy listened to the sound of her voice and thought it to be more beautiful than the sound of the wind in the date palms. "I have been waiting for you here at this oasis for a long time. I have forgotten about my past, about my traditions and the way in which men of the desert expect women to behave. Ever since I was a child, I have dreamed that the desert would bring me a wonderful present. Now my present has arrived, and it's you." The boy wanted to take her hand, but Fatima's hands held to the handles of the jug. "You have told me about your dreams, about the old king, and about your treasure. You've told me about omens. So now I fear nothing, because it was those omens that brought you to me, and I am part of your dream, a part of your personal legend, as you call it. That's why I want you to continue towards your goal. If you have to wait until the war is over, then wait. But if you have to go before then, go on in pursuit of your dream. The dunes are challenged by the winds, but the desert never changes. That's the way it will be with